All right, let's jump right in. Today we're tackling the high-stakes world of strategic alliances. Mergers, joint ventures, partnerships. These are the kinds of moves that can absolutely define a company's future. So we're going to break down the playbook for how to get them right.
Here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into the fundamental driver behind all of this, the absolute need to grow. Then we'll explore the different tools you have in your toolkit. After that, the crucial homework phase, the diligence deep dive. Then we'll talk about your role as the leader, the architect of all this. And finally, we'll tie it all together with the ultimate goal, creating value that actually lasts.
So, first things first, the growth imperative. Before we even get into the how of forming an alliance, we have to understand the why. What is it that pushes a company to look beyond its own four walls for that next big leap?
And that really is the question that keeps every leader up at night, isn't it? How do you grow beyond what you can build yourself? When your internal innovation starts to plateau or the market is just moving faster than your team can, you have to look outside. There's no other way.
And this right here is the key takeaway for any leader today. These strategic alliances, they aren't just some nice-to-have or a plan B. They are often the single most powerful lever you can pull to rapidly expand what you're capable of and to outmaneuver your competition.
Okay, so if looking outward is the answer, what are your options? What does that actually look like? Well, that brings us to our collaboration toolkit. Let's unpack the three main ways you can team up.
You've basically got three main tools in your belt here, and each one is suited for a totally different job. You've got M&A, which is all about full integration and control. Then there are joint ventures, which are for sharing the risk and the reward. And finally, partnerships, which give you the most flexibility for innovating without the heavy commitment of ownership. Let's dig into each one.
First up, M&A. This is your heavy hitter. It's the most comprehensive option. We're not just talking about collaboration, this is a complete integration. You are literally weaving another company's DNA, their tech, their people, their market access, into the very fabric of your own enterprise.
Next, you've got the joint venture. Think of this as your strategic middle ground. You and a partner come together to create a brand new, separate company that you both own. It's the perfect way to test new waters, like a new country or a whole new industry, because you're sharing the risk and, of course, the potential reward.
And finally, we have partnerships. This one is all about speed and agility. In the tech world especially, this is huge. A partnership lets you co-innovate with another company, test things out, and move fast without all the baggage and complexity of a full-blown merger. It's about creating options.
Okay, so now we know what our options are. That brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most critical phase of this whole process, the diligence deep dive. This is the foundation everything else is built on. This is where you do the homework.
And let me be absolutely clear about this. Skipping steps here is a recipe for disaster. Diligence isn't just some box-ticking exercise. It is the non-negotiable backbone of any successful deal. A deep, rigorous evaluation is the only thing standing between a brilliant strategic move and a very, very expensive mistake.
And look, diligence today has evolved way beyond just checking the balance sheet. The old playbook is obsolete. Now you have to dig so much deeper. You're scrutinizing the quality of their data, the real strength of their IP, how transparent their algorithms are, how resilient their cybersecurity is. And yeah, of course, you still have to apply that rigorous cost discipline to make sure the valuation makes sense.
This quote just nails a critical modern truth. The value of an AI asset is not only in its code, but in the integrity of its training data. Think about that. What it really means is that the secret sauce, the thing you're actually buying, might be completely invisible. It's not the software, it's the quality and the trustworthiness of the data that powers it.
So this is all pretty complex, right? With all this in mind, where do you, as a leader, fit into this process? That brings us to Section 4, the CXO as architect. As the architect of the deal, your job is a constant balancing act. It's this real tension. On one side, you've got ambition, that drive to make a bold, game-changing move that's going to accelerate everything. And on the other, you have caution, the absolute need to protect the company, to safeguard against risk and unnecessary complexity. Getting that balance right, well, that's everything.
So how do you manage that balancing act? Well, your process really boils down to these four key actions. First, you model the scenarios. What's the best case? What's the worst case? Second, you analyze all the risks tied to each of those paths. Third, you plan the integration meticulously because value is created there, not just in the deal itself. And finally, you safeguard the whole process by ensuring there's clear accountability from start to finish.
Which brings us to our final section. We've gone through all this work for what? What's the end game? Let's connect all these dots back to the ultimate goal, building sustainable value.
A successful deal isn't about the press release on day one. Real success is what happens over the long term. A truly great alliance accomplishes these three things. It extends your reach into new markets or customers, it accelerates your pace of innovation, and it embeds resilience, making the entire organization fundamentally stronger for whatever comes next.
So I'll leave you with this one critical question. Is your next alliance going to be an asset that builds you up or a liability that weighs you down? The answer really comes down to your approach. If you see it as just another transaction, you're inviting failure. But if you treat it as an act of enterprise architecture, with vision, with discipline, with purpose, you can build value that truly endures. The choice is yours.